Before you even say a word, before you explain who you are, before anyone knows your story, a decision has already been made about you. Not consciously, not deliberately, but instantly. And that decision shapes everything that follows. How people respond to you, how long they listen, seriously they take you. And most of the time, you never even realize it happened. In this video, you are about to understand why people judge older men in seconds and what they quietly look for without ever saying it. At first, it doesn't feel like judgment because no one is rude. No one says anything negative. No one openly dismisses you. But something feels slightly off. A conversation feels shorter than expected. A response feels less engaged. A moment that should feel natural feels slightly rushed. And it's easy to ignore, easy to explain away. They're busy. They're distracted. They didn't mean anything by it. And sometimes that's true, but not always. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone, and within seconds, you already had a sense of who they were? Not based on facts, not based on conversation, just a feeling. That's how fast perception works, and the same thing happens to you. But here's what most men don't realize. It becomes even stronger after 60 or 70. Because people rely more on signals than words. They're not trying to understand you deeply. They're trying to categorize you quickly. Not out of disrespect, but out of efficiency. And this is where the quiet judgment begins. Not harsh, not cruel. Just fast and subtle. Within seconds, people ask themselves, how present is he? How aware is he? How much attention should I give him? And those answers don't come from what you say. They come from what you show. Your posture, your pace, your eye contact, your stillness, or lack of it, even your silence. All of it is read instantly, not analyzed, just felt. And once that first impression is formed, everything adjusts around it. If the signal is strong, people lean in slightly. They engage more. They respond with more presence. If the signal is weak, people don't reject you. They just don't invest. And this is where most men misunderstand what's happening, because they think respect is lost in big moments, but it's not. It's shaped in the first few seconds. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Once that initial perception is set, it's very hard to change. Not impossible, but difficult, because people tend to confirm what they already feel. That's why two men can say the same words and receive completely different reactions. One is heard, the other is processed. And this is the part most people never see. Judgment is not always about approval or disapproval. It's about attention allocation. Who deserves focus? Who receives energy? Who is worth engaging with more deeply? And this decision is made quietly, without words, without awareness, but with consistency. Now here's where things begin to shift. Because once you understand this, you stop focusing on what you say first, and start paying attention to what people feel before you speak. There are men who naturally hold attention, not because they try, but because their presence is structured. They move with intention. They pause without discomfort. They don't rush to fill silence. They allow space, and that space creates weight. And then there are men who unintentionally weaken their own signal. They speak quickly. They fill every silence. They move without intention, not because they lack confidence, but because they've adapted to being responded to less. And that creates a loop. Less response gives faster speech, gives less presence, gives even less response. But here's what changes everything. The moment you slow down, the moment you stop chasing reaction, and start stabilizing presence, everything begins to shift. Because presence is not about effort, it's about control. Control of pace, control of silence, control of how you occupy a moment and when that control returns. People feel it. They don't think about it. They don't analyze it, but they respond to it. Eye contact holds longer. Responses feel more complete. Conversations slow down slightly, and suddenly, you're not just being heard, you're being registered. And this leads to something most men never consider. Judgment doesn't disappear, it evolves. People will always form impressions quickly. That doesn't change, but what they see can change. And once you understand that, you realize something powerful. You don't need to say more to be taken seriously. You need to signal more before you speak, because the first few seconds decide the tone of everything that follows. And once that tone shifts, everything else becomes easier. Conversations, interactions, presence. And now that you see this, you start noticing it everywhere. Who holds attention? Who loses it? And why? So the real question is not whether people judge quickly. They do. The real question is, what are they deciding about you before you even begin to speak, and whether that decision is working for you or quietly working against you.